International Trade Focus is brought to you by Ghana Free Zones Authority and supported by GOIL and Agricultural Development Bank.
Hello, thanks for tuning in to another edition of International Trade Focus. So there's been a hint of a possible reopening of Nigeria's land border after it was shut down in August last year. So we want to find out on this week's edition what impacts will the reopening of Nigeria's border have on business community here in Ghana, considering the fact that it's been shut for so long, and what repercussions will it also have on the business community should Nigeria decide to still close down its land borders to countries such as Ghana. So this is what we'll be taking a look at on this week's episode of International Trade Focus. Now, we can't proceed without saying special thanks to the sponsors of this program. International Trade Focus is brought to you by Ghana Free Zones Authority. They say sharing good fortunes, and GOIL, Good Energy, ADB, Truly, Agric and more, and Pediase Valley Resort. My name is Anna Spiel. Stick and stay.
Your business concepts and investment must be harnessed through a hassle-free and highly thoughtful process to make them globally competitive. That is precisely the mission of the Ghana Free Zones Authority. Ghana Free Zones Authority packages Ghana's enabling business and investment environment with endless benefits. Total exemption from major taxes and levies for first 10 years. Talk to us now about our business oasis created all over the country. Acres of industrial enclaves for all sectors. Our beneficiaries are in vibrant business, exporting finished and processed factory inputs all over the world. And what do our clients call us?
Partner.
Ghana Free Zones Authority. Sharing good fortunes.
Breathtaking picturesque views, the essence of tranquility recrafted. What's your desire? A romantic expedition, syndicate sessions, banquet and conferences, or a discreet weekend getaway? Just name it. It is exclusively packaged for you at Pediase Valley Resort. Every spacious rooms, ultra-modern gym facilities, games, indoors, terrace and lawn restaurants and lounges, cozy private dining, and all the swimmer's paradise. Aquaba, any day, all year round to Pediase Valley Resort. The acts of serenity, skillfully served.
Here's innovation from GOIL that takes you further. New GOIL Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubes have been expertly crafted with the latest in liquid engineering technology, highly advanced for modern engines, prolongs oil change intervals, save you fuel, clean, protect and enhance engine performance. The way engines work has become complex, and GOIL has innovated to stay ahead with expertly crafted lubricants that work excellently with all petrol and diesel engines of today. New GOIL Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubes. Innovation that takes you further. GOIL. Good energy.
Are you an importer or exporter? Do you need quick financing at the best rate on the market? ADB has good news for you. Walk into any agricultural development bank location nationwide for that solution to all your trade financing needs. ADB offers you pre-financing of exports and imports, post-shipment credit facilities, bank guarantees, the issuance and acceptance of letters of credit, documentary bills for collection, outward documentary collection. Enjoy free advisory services from our well-trained, dedicated trade officers. Exporters of agricultural products are encouraged to take advantage of this great service. For further enquiries, call us on 0302 210 210. ADB, making trade finance easy. ADB, Truly Agric and more.
thanks for staying with us. Now, in August last year, Nigeria, one of Africa's largest economies, closed down its land borders, citing the influx of foreign rice into its markets as the major reason. Now, this move has affected neighboring countries, including Ghana. On our in-depth segment, we want to find out, should Nigeria open its land borders once again? What impact is this going to have on the business community here in Ghana? And should Nigeria decide to still shut down its land borders, what repercussions will this have on the business community here in Ghana as well? And even what this means to the African Continental Free Trade, which is expected to commence on the 1st of July 2020. We solicited the views of some stakeholders within the business community here in Ghana. Up next is the view of Ziad Hamui. He's the national president of the Borderless Alliance. Our in the segment comes up next.
Unfortunately, the recent deadline of the 31st of January of the opening of the Nigerian borders came and went without any updates, which means that economic operators that with their goods are stuck at the borders, unable to enter the markets in Nigeria as yes, despite an earlier attempt by a high-level delegation from Ghana, headed by the Minister of Trade and Industry and the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, to try to seek alternative routes for trade that does not fit into the issues of Nigeria with regard to smuggling at the time. And keep in mind that in October, the reason for the border closures, the official reason that was given was the smuggling, in order to stave off smuggling, especially from Benin and Niger. And that and that all discussions and talks will be through the tripartite committee of Nigeria, Niger, and Benin in order to find out what will be the requirements for compliance from the economic operators. Now, unfortunately, recently, that claim has shifted from trade to security. And this is giving conflicting signals about the commitment of the government of Nigeria towards regional integration and towards the AFCFTA, which is the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. You might be aware that at the moment, a high-level panel of eminent personalities from across Africa is interviewing the finalists for the position of the Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement Secretariat, which has been announced that Accra will be hosting. And it is ironic that at the moment where the whole continent is looking at how to integrate its market and to open up these markets to its economic operators and its people for free movement of trade and people, we have countries that are still either not very clear about their commitment to regional integration or giving conflicting signals about their need to focus on local industries before joining an integrated market. So it's very disappointing, so to say, especially for the country that is hosting the Secretariat. Something needs to be done very fast at the highest level, not just within West Africa, but beyond, even at the African Union, in order to try to find out what the best way would be to avoid a situation where the Nigerian borders will be closed completely for all trade coming in from West Africa and beyond, in order to determine exactly where they stand and to determine the way forward. Well, in general, the fluidity of the border will affect what the real cost of doing business would be. Keep in mind that Nigeria is the largest market for West African products and services. If you are an economic operator in West Africa and you are into regional trade, then Nigeria would definitely be on your list, and you'll try to export into Nigeria, whether it is locally manufactured or produced products, or whether it is imported products that you are dealing with and you are trying to also penetrate the Nigerian market. So the market is large. But at the same time, the premise on which the economic community of West African states was built back in 1975 was that by opening up the West African markets to everybody, you are allowing an enhanced access, which will allow you to produce more at lower costs. and it's called economies of scale. So economies of scale will help build the competitiveness of the locally based traders and operators, and Nigeria has been included in that. With the advent of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, there was a heightened optimism about integrating the African markets to the locally based traders and operators, not just in West Africa, but to the West, to the whole of Africa. And Nigeria was a signatory of the protocol on the AFCFTA, even though it was one of the later comers, but they have signed, which indicates their commitment towards the regional integration and the principle of the free movement of trade across its country. Now, it seems that Nigeria is having second thoughts about the need to focus on local production and manufacturing, therefore isolating their country from the rest of the regional integration efforts. And there needs to be more clarity on the way forward. They need to come forward and to be forthcoming about whether they are really integrating with the rest of the continent and the rest of the region, or whether that is not the case. I think it comes at a very sensitive time where the negotiators from across the continent are working out on fine-tuning the details about which products will be subject to zero duty, which products will be in the sensitive list, which products will be in the exemption list, at least temporarily. And you know that the AFCFTA allows the opportunity for countries to produce what they call the list of exempt products, which means the 10% of products which they want to phase out duty-free after a certain number of years. And this 10% will be divided to 7% sensitive, I think, and then 3% exclusive, or something like that. So these negotiations are currently ongoing to fine-tune what would be the final advantages and benefits from accessing the wider African markets. And just a month after the entry into force of the AFCFTA, we have one of the countries that is proving a bit more difficult by closing up its borders. And it throws the integration efforts and the negotiations into disarray, because it's sending the wrong signals from one of the larger economies of the continent. So this needs to be resolved very fast, in the best way possible, in an amicable way, before it spirals into an effect that spills over to national level, and then various economic operators expressing doubt about whether economic integration really is a solution or a panacea. Nigeria has been an oil-producing country since the 70s, even before the advent of ECOWAS. And so it is fair to say that after 40 or 50 years, you had all the time you had to integrate and to build a manufacturing basis, which hasn't yet materialized. Nigeria is still an oil-driven economy. Up to 90%, even more, of its economy derives from oil revenue. And my question here, I wonder how many years we have to wait until Nigeria builds its manufacturing capacity basis. Because this question also determines the answer to the question, how long will Nigerian market be closed for economic operators? And if the solution is we are not sure, then it means that the efforts for manufacturing and industrialization in that country needs a radical rethinking, because whatever efforts are being thrown in that direction do not seem concrete enough to justify the closure of the country. People need products, and people need the products at reasonable costs. If you can fulfill some kind of self-sustenance in certain products, fine. But then those that you know absolutely you can get there within the next 10, 15, 20 years, then you have to see ways to substitute with some kind of cheaper importation. And look, products, for example, like textile, are not allowed to enter into Nigeria because they are on an exclusion list. But at the same time, it is common knowledge that there is no textile market in Nigeria. So should all the textile of West Africa wait for Nigeria to build a competitive textile market in God knows how many years before you will allow textile to enter in? If the answer is yes, then it means you are justifying smuggling and you are actually encouraging smuggling, because you can't force people to stay without, or to deny access to particular services that are of use. That is the essence of trade. You export things that you have excess of, you import things that you have shortages of, and that establishes virtuous trade cycles. So we hope that the impasse at the Nigerian borders will be resolved very soon to the benefit of the Nigerian people before the rest of the African people. My understanding for the rules of origin applies for the ECOWAS trade liberalization scheme, and that is a particular scheme that allows products and goods that originate from the community access to the rest of the community. I never saw or met a legal text that specifies that rules of origin can be used to limit the entry of particular products, unless you are trying to tell me that Nigeria is looking at making their rules of origin more stricter, which means that if, for example, the ECOWAS rules of origin specifies 30% value addition for a product to qualify as a West African product, it could be that the Nigerian government is looking at implementing a stricter value addition requirement that will make it more difficult for non-community originating product to fulfill the criterion. And then you get to the point of sovereignty. But whether Nigeria currently implements stricter rules of origin with regard to products inside, or whether they are contemplating making their rules more strict, that is something that I need to find out. Apart from that, the rules of the community are very strict, are very clear. If you fulfill particular value addition rules, then you are allowed to access. Now, keep in mind that the rules of origin for value addition for the African Continental Free Trade Agreement are yet to be finalized. And they are looking at a way to balance the percentage of value addition to make goods qualify as African origin. And that has a reason that most of the countries express fear that too little value addition on a continental level will lead to dumping. And that is a valid argument. But when we are talking about the community rules themselves, the community rules are compatible so far with the AFCFTA agreement, which means that the ECOWAS rules of origin will be made compatible with the AFCFTA rules of origin, in order to prevent a situation where two different legal texts will be giving contradictory interpretations of particular rules. But as it stands at the moment, the rules of origin are clear on the topic. Our hearts goes out to those who have been waiting at the borders for weeks and months even, some of which are in dire needs of financial support, let alone the risk of the environment in which they stand up. We know that frontiers are usually some of the most difficult and hazardous areas. And so on a humanitarian basis, I would ask the government of Nigeria to accelerate its efforts towards finding alternative means to allow legitimate trade that is flowing from the rest of West Africa to find its way into Nigeria. If security is indeed the concern, if smuggling is indeed the concern, then I think that finding alternative ways for goods to enter through particular barriers for legitimate trade coming from West Africa is a solution. It should be implemented fast. With regard to the government of Nigeria, sovereignty is granted for all, but the commitment towards the AFCFTA has already been made through the signature. And it is the understanding of the business community that the government of Nigeria is committed towards regional integration. And that has been evidenced by the signature of that agreement. Even in the signature of the ECOWAS protocol, which ironically, Nigeria was at the forefront during the establishment. The founding father who signed the protocol in 1975, Nigeria was at the forefront. What has happened? What can happen to allay the fears of the government of Nigeria that opening up the markets is in the benefit of Nigerians and the rest of Africa?
You're watching International Trade Focus. We are taking a word from our sponsors. We'll be back shortly.
Your business concepts and investment must be harnessed through a hassle-free and highly thoughtful process to make them globally competitive. That is precisely the mission of the Ghana Free Zones Authority. Ghana Free Zones Authority packages Ghana's enabling business and investment environment with endless benefits. Total exemption from major taxes and levies for first 10 years. Talk to us now about our business oasis created all over the country. Acres of industrial enclaves for all sectors. Our beneficiaries are in vibrant business, exporting finished and processed factory inputs all over the world. And what do our clients call us?
Partner.
Ghana Free Zones Authority, sharing good fortunes.
Here's innovation from Goyle that takes you further. New Gold Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubes have been expertly crafted with the latest in liquid engineering technology, highly advanced for modern engines, prolongs oil change intervals, save you fuel, clean, protect and enhance engine performance. The way engines work has become complex, and Goyle has innovated to stay ahead with expertly crafted lubricants that work excellently with all petrol and diesel engines of today. New Goyle Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubes. Innovation that takes you further. Goyle. Good energy.
The Ghana International Trade Fair Center, under the auspices of the Ministry of Trade and Industry and the Ministry of Agriculture, presents the 24th Ghana International Trade Fair. This fair, under the theme Value Addition Trading Globally, comes off between February 27 and March 8, 2020. It will showcase an array of goods and services from over 600 exhibitors over a 2-week period at the Aliu Mahama Sports Stadium, Tamale. There will be varied on-ground entertainment, food and beverages, and a permanent playground to make every visit to the fairground a rewarding experience. For bookings and registration for the Ghana International Trade Fair to be held in Tamale, call 0555 153 955 or 0555 528 817 or 0244 469 451. You can alternatively register online at tradefairgh.com, and you can also send emails to gh-tradefair@gmail.com. The Ghana International Trade Fair 2020. Value Addition Trading Globally.
A warm welcome back. We are bringing you the views of some stakeholders on the closure of Nigeria's land border. Nana Osei-Bonsu is the CEO of the Private Enterprises Federation, PEF, and Dr. Joseph Obeng is the National President of the Ghana Union of Traders Association. Stay tuned.
Once you have a closed door, it prevents somebody from entry. And somebody from entry may be the one that you're trying to prevent from entering, but there might be a collateral impact on others that you didn't anticipate. And that's what the closure had affected a lot of business across the region. What I think the political leadership doing is negotiating, trying to understand what the merits are and find amicable solutions. Unfortunately, under the ECOWAS free trade protocol, there's no kind of adequate institutional framework to address these things. Unfortunately, under the CFTA, there are avenues where countries can go and complain and get redress on that. So now that we hear through the back door, there may be some relief on that. But it shouldn't have started in the first place anyway, because businesses want free trade with free access. That notwithstanding that, we have to also be comfortable that the securities are not going to be breached. And once you don't, and you put impediments, what the other countries retaliate, then where goes the business community? So to me, it's something that once it's being addressed, let's make sure that it doesn't happen again. It's a rude awakening for the continental free trade that something can happen this way. And what mechanisms do we have in place? And as I said earlier, there's a mechanism in place within the continental free trade protocol to address issues like that. So it doesn't happen again or it's not repeated.
Nigerians have a lot to gain from this exercise, and we are not expecting that they will open this anytime soon, especially with the conditions that they are giving to other states. The rules of origin that they have adopted is also legitimate. ECOWAS Parliament have also given them the go-ahead. And so they are not doing anything illegitimate or badly against the ECOWAS protocol itself. What we have to do is to make sure that as a country, we also emulate something good from this. The rules of origin, if anything to go, is being abused by their citizens in this country and other ECOWAS citizens. They are selling goods that are made outside the ECOWAS community. They are reshaping imported goods from Asia and elsewhere into Ghana, which is destroying our economy. And so we should, as a matter of urgency, criminalize those activities and make sure that they stop from engaging in this trading. If we say ECOWAS, then we have to abide by the rules of the game. ECOWAS is only saying that we should trade in goods that are made by the member states and nothing else. Nigeria have shown the way. They are not going to allow any goods outside what the protocol demands. And I think we cannot afford them. The only thing that we do not like was lack of information, the information that was not given to us for us to not even to go there in the first place to buy and having locked our capital. And our advice our members even not to go there because it's not a preferred destination for trading. We go to Dubai, we go to China, we go to Turkey, much as they also go to these destinations to buy their goods. So we have nothing to lose. If they are not opening, I admit some manufacturers who depend on that market will have to suffer, but then largely we are not going to lose as traders because we can find some of the goods even made here in Ghana can still go to the areas that the Nigerians also go and buy the goods. If you do not have big capital, you just have to come mobilize your resources together with your colleagues and then one person go and buy these goods. That's the advice I will give to you. Otherwise, Nigeria will move on as a state. Ghana should also move on as a state. We should clamp down on those people who are going against the rules of origin the same way Nigeria is doing, and then we will all have our peace.
So this week's episode has come to an end. Thank you so much for tuning in to International Trade Focus. Join us same time next week for some more on international trade related activities here in Ghana and beyond. This program is brought to you by Ghana Free Zones Authority, They Say Sharing Good Fortunes, and ADB, Truly Agric and More, Goal, Good Energy, and Pediasy Valley Resort. My name is Anna Spiro. Thank you so much for your company. Bye-bye.